Welcome in, Slumpbusters. It is your host, Juju and Kyle, and we are joined today by another fantastic guest. Remember, before we go any further, like, comment, hit that subscribe button, all those good things that help the channel grow. Joining us today to talk this very interesting Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason that was all started with Tom Brady retiring, then unretiring, then Bruce Arians retiring. It's Sports Way with Dray Day joining us here to talk all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dray, I got to ask, first things first, are you disappointed that the Blaine Gabbert era is put on hold in Tampa?
No, I'm not disappointed at all. I'm not disappointed at all. I'm glad my guy Brady is back. I have been a Brady guy since he was at Michigan, so my loyalty is more so to him than it is to a team. It's like basically where he go, I go. I'm glad that he's back. I'm just surprised that the announcement came as quick as I thought. I mean, I knew he was going to retire because I figured he had nothing left to prove, but I'm just surprised that after 2 months with being with Giselle and your kids, you said, all right, okay, F these kids. It's time to go back to football.
Okay, well, do you feel there is anything left to prove as he now enters year 23?
Well, you let him tell it. He got unfinished business. I mean, my dude, you got 7 rings. How much unfinished business do you need? I get how they lost to the Rams. You know, they scored all those unanswered points. I believe it was 24 unanswered points to come back, in the second half. Basically, a blown coverage basically helped Cooper Kupp make that catch and get them in field goal range. So if that's his outtake for unfinished business, and we all know the competitor that he is, then I guess he got unfinished business. But for me personally, I mean, my dude, you got 7 rings. Like, there's nothing left to prove. Like, nobody is catching that. Not in our lifetime. Ain't nobody catching 7 rings. But the dude is a competitor, probably the fiercest competitor that we've probably ever seen in football. You know what I'm saying? But I guess for him, he needs football because we all know his personality ain't all the way up to par. Like when you think of Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, all these guys that have done things outside of football, they have their own shows, they have their networks and things like that. I don't see Tom in that light. I don't see him color commentary on CBS or Fox or any of these major networks like the Mannings or hosting Saturday Night Live or something. His personality is, so he needs football. You're going to have to basically knock the shit out of him to make him retire, the way I see it. The dude said he wanted to play to 45. He about to be 45 now. So hopefully this year he decides, you know what, after that, I'm done. Let me truly stay home with Giselle and the kids, but let's see.
So the timing of Bruce Arians retiring and Tom Brady coming back kind of suggests that like Tom Brady won a power struggle within the Buccaneers organization. And
that's exactly what it was. Can't nobody tell me no different. Because, I mean, we all heard reports last year that they was at odds a little bit. I mean, they were at odds. What was it? The first game he played with them because Bruce Arians basically threw him under the bus after a loss. But me personally, I don't mind playing for a coach that's going to throw me under the bus because that's going to make me play better. I'm going to give you the perfect analogy. Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward to ever play in the NBA. Coach Pop would chew his ass up when he needs to. Nobody is exempt from getting called out. You know what I'm saying? I would rather play with a coach, play for a coach that will call me out on my shit as opposed to playing favorites. Oh, he's the GOAT, so, I got to pacify him. No, we can't do that. I guess maybe it was a power struggle with that. Supposedly, Brady, was more opposed to Brian Leftwich style, and maybe that's why the rift between him and Bruce Arians came into play. But I did find it a little too crazy that once he announced that he was coming back a few days after, or maybe a week or so, I remember I was at work and I got that notification that Bruce Arians was retiring as head coach. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, oh, nah, this is fishy. But I'm going to let them run with it and let them do this whole, what is it? Brady sent that long, heartfelt post on IG that he does. If you go into the comments, Bruce Arians is the second one that responded to it, talking about some love you, bro, all that. Man, get out of here with that, man.
Well, you mentioned Tom Brady had that goal of retiring at 45. He also had a goal of retiring when he, quote unquote, sucked. Last year, by all indications, he didn't suck. He threw for 5,300 yards, led the league in touchdowns, led the league in completions. Tom Brady's everything but a sucky quarterback at this point in his career, even at this point in his age. So what should we expect from Tom? Is it going to be much of the same, or is that ever expanding cliff ever going to come that Max Kellerman talked about like 5 years ago now?
Well, obviously Max was way off with that cliff, and I'm glad to see that he's finally owned up to it, because years after that, he kept saying that how, oh no, I didn't mean then. I mean such. Man, please, you said it when you said it, and it didn't happen. I do believe that we're not going to see a cliff when it comes to him. Again, I honestly think the only way Brady is coming off that field is if somebody has to knock shit out of him. Now, if they want Brady gone that bad, just have LT come back for one game, have him play with the Rams, and let him knock Brady out like he used to do old quarterbacks. And then maybe that right there, maybe have Tom Brady retire. But other than that, I don't see him leaving the game from a decline, because like you said, he led the league last year in touchdown passes and yards. For the most part, a lot of people had him as an MVP. I didn't. I still felt that Aaron Rodgers deserved to be MVP. But even last year, he didn't show no decline. The dude can still play. We know that. And I think it's going to be the same thing this year. I think the key is if Godwin is back in time, because we know when it comes to them slot receivers, Brady loved his slot receivers. So if Chris Godwin can come back in time, that'd be dope. If not,
you mentioned the receiving core there. They've also signed Russell Gage, and Godwin got an extension instead of going on the franchise tag. We assume Gronk is going to be back. He hasn't technically signed, but we assume Gronk's coming back. So how do you feel about the Bucs receiving core?
I spoke to Gronk. He coming back. Like I spoke to him. I was watching him last night, on Jimmy Kimmel, and he was, Jimmy Kimmel was trying his best to try to get Gronk to answer some questions, but Gronk, didn't go for the okie doke. But I know what it is with Gronk. Like he's been in the game long enough to know where it's like, yo, I don't need to show up for OTAs. I don't need to show up for these workouts and training camps. I just need to be ready for preseason or when the season starts. He's not trying to show up for all that other shit. He trying to enjoy his summer like a lot of people are. I do believe he will be back, though. I do believe he'll be back. I think it's a reason on why, he basically hasn't made his mind up yet. I'm going to give it probably about June, July, and we're going to find out he'll be back. As far as the receiving cores, not big names, which I'm okay with, because, listen, if we follow Brady, we know he don't need no big names. And then when he did have big names, I mean, besides Randy Moss, it panned out stat-wise, it didn't pan out championship-wise. And then the last big name he had wound up being a troublemaker, which was AB, but that's neither here nor there. I love Mike Evans. I love Chris Godwin, so get well soon to him. I truly hope that he'll be back in time. Gage, I believe this will be, I'm not really too familiar with him, but I do know he did play with the Falcons, so he's a division rival. So obviously, y'all know how that goes. Like, when free agency comes, if I got an opportunity to play against my former team 2 times out the year, that's all the fire I need. And if for him to make that decision to come to Tampa to play with Brady, I'm sure he's going to be on his game. I'm positive he's going to be on his game. He's not going to blow this opportunity. It ain't too many receivers that can say that they've been fortunate enough to catch passes from Brady. And for the most part, those receivers that have, some have showed up, some haven't. I believe Gage will be one of those receivers to answer the bell and, have his production for the Tampa Bay offense.
Well, it's not just the receiving core that we need to talk. There was some changes on the offensive line, losing Marpet. That's a big loss there. And Brady's not exactly the most mobile quarterback in the world. He needs that line to be steady. How do you think they go about replacing Marpet? Do you think it's going to strictly come down to a draft pick, or do you think the Buccaneers have a greater plan here?
I think they're going to do what they did when they picked up Tristan Wirfs. I think they're going to go in the draft. I honestly think they're going to look for somebody in the draft. They lost Kappa to Cincinnati. I mean, I don't know why he made. I know why he made the move, because they threw that bag at him. But you would think with Brady saying he's going to come back, everybody would want to stay. But at the end of the day, dudes got bills to pay. Dudes got families. Dudes is not on some, Brady back. It's not a sure thing we're going to win again, because what was it? Last season, they won the Super Bowl. Everybody came back. Everybody thought it would be a sure thing that they would win. Didn't happen. Dudes took pay cuts. Dudes took pay cuts to stay. Didn't wind up winning. And now it's like, free agency's hit. It's time for me to get my bag this time. Brady's back. That's a good thing, but I got mouths to feed. I got bills to pay. But yeah, I think that O-line is something that they definitely gonna have to work on. And then if you really think about the NFC, the team that they really got to worry about the most is the same team that they lost to in the playoffs, which was the Rams. We done seen what they done did right now as far as ramping up that defense. They didn't lose anybody, but they damn sure gained Bobby Wagner. So if the Bucs were smart, definitely got to shake up that O-line because that's going to be the key. We all know how to get Brady rattled up, and that's to get him on his ass, make him uncomfortable. Don't have him tap dancing in the pocket, making him comfortable. You got to make it very uncomfortable for the GOAT.
How are you feeling about Todd Bowles replacing Bruce Arians for next season?
I got to salute Bruce Arians because he's one of the coaches that is very, very, very instrumental with having minorities on his staff. And it's kind of like he had this planned out. I mean, he's making it seem like he had it planned from the jump. Oh, when I do decide to hang it up, I want somebody from my staff to take over. But if anything, that's what you would want anyway. Obviously, he's not the head of the company, but he's the head coach. So I have my staff lined up for a reason, just in case if I was to leave, I can decide who's my successor, as opposed to y'all going out there and bringing somebody else. I like Todd Bowles. I do. I just believe that he didn't get a fair share with the Jets, obviously. And then now he's this, I wouldn't say great defensive coordinator. He's a good defensive coordinator, but now that he's taking the realms as the coach for the Bucs, this is his second chance to, show if he can really hang as a head coach. But we're going to see, though. I like Todd Bowles, though. I do. I would have preferred Ryan Leftwich because he's more in tune with Brady, but I think that's why they didn't do that. I think they want to, give it to Todd Bowles because he already has the experience. But me personally, I would have preferred Leftwich.
Well, as long as he doesn't leave Cooper Kupp one-on-one with the game on the line, I think we'll be good as far as Todd Bowles' next head coaching tenure.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about something they need to fix defensively, though. Their defensive backfield was probably the core weakness of the Buccaneers team last year. And they went out and signed Keanu Neal, who's been back and forth between being a linebacker and a safety, going back to when he was signed with Dallas last year. And they also added Logan Ryan. So they try and fix that safety position more than anything. But the corner position was also a point of weakness. How do you think Todd Bowles' defensive backfield is going to look this coming year?
Well, to their, no pun intended, to their defense, injuries played a role in what was going on with them last year. Still no excuse because, at the end of the day, we know how this goes. Next man up. And for the most part, some of the defensive backs, they didn't step up. I was so looking forward to Sherm playing for them, but obviously injuries kicked his ass and that experiment didn't work. Carlton Davis was out a few games. I believe he just signed an extension as well. Dean was out a few games. Antoine Winfield was out a few games. Like pretty much everybody on that secondary was out multiple games. We now fast forward to this season. We all know why Logan Ryan is there. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why he went there. And when I found out he went there, I said, oh, yeah, Brady had his hands on that. He definitely want one of his guys, in that backfield, which is dope. I think last year was definitely a lot of growing pains in that secondary. And I'm hoping to God that this upcoming season, they work on that. I'm not sure if they're going to do the same thing in the draft and get a defensive back. I'm not sure what they're going to do when it pertains to that. But I know definitely that O-line and that secondary is two key things that they need to work on. They don't need to work on a quarterback because obviously they got that. They don't need to worry about a running game because with Brady, you really never really needed that. And Fournette came back. He's good on that. The receiving core is good. It's the O-line and the secondary. That's it.
All right. How are you feeling about the Bucs next season? So they're going to run through the NFC South. So how do they stack up against the Rams and the Packers and the Cowboys and everyone else in the NFC?
Okay, I was with you until you said Cowboys. I was with you until you said Cowboys. Me personally, when you say run through the South, they're going to run through the South as far as Atlanta and Carolina. For some reason or another, these last two seasons, the Saints have given Brady problems. And I believe, and listen, I believe in my heart that's still going to happen. I do believe that this upcoming season, instead of them beating us 2 games, I honestly think this year will be the year that we split the games. I think we'll get one and they'll get one because when it's time to play Brady, they show up. Green Bay, honestly, I'm not really too worried about Green Bay as I was years ago because obviously Aaron Rodgers is going to truly understand what it means to not have his go-to guy there because none of them receivers that's there now is Devontae Adams. Maybe he should have been more loyal and made sure his man got his bag instead of him going to Vegas, but that's neither here nor there. The only team I'm concerned with in the NFC is the Rams. Rightfully so, the defending champs. They didn't lose anybody. They gained Bobby Wagner, so trust me, he's going to be coming for blood because he gets to play his former team 2 times in a season. So that's the only team in the NFC I'm worried about is the Rams. There's nobody else I'm worried about. If you look at the trajectory right now, if I want to give my preliminary prediction, it's the Bucs and the Rams in the NFC Championship game. The question is it going to be in Tampa or is it going to be in LA?
4-1 for the Saints against Brady and 3-0 for the Rams against Brady over the last 2 years. So that would be an interesting NFC title game. And I don't blame Brady for unretiring because I don't want to lose to Matthew Stafford in my last game. I mean, come on. That's just disrespectful to the GOAT. Anyway, Sportsway with Dray Day. Go ahead and give us all the obligatory plugs, man. Where can we find your content?
I'm on all streaming platforms, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, all platforms except Tidal, basically. On social media, you can find me on my Facebook page, Dray Day. You can even like my podcast page, Sportsway with Dray Day Podcast. On Instagram, I have 2 pages. I have my personal page, Dray Day 1985. The link is in the bio. Sportsway with Dray Day Podcast. The link is in the bio. And on Twitter, Dray Day 1985. The link is in the bio. So those are all the places that, y'all can find me on there.
All right, Slumpbusters, don't forget about Dray. Make sure to go like his page. Juju Talk Sports here. Kyle Ledbetter here. Stay safe, happy, healthy. We'll see you on the next one.